Welcome everybody. All right. Hope you're all having a great day. So today we're going to be talking about mastering algorithmic trading and talking about some of our insights that we've developed over the years. We've been doing this for the better part of 4 years. So quite a bit of experience going through building different types of algorithms and things like that. So we're going to talk about some of our insights that we've developed and kind of give you a peek into our world of developing profitable algorithms. All right. So here's our agenda for today. So first of all, let me give you a link to the presentation. All right, so I'm going to share this with you guys inside the chat. So if you guys want to follow along, or if you want to take a look at the presentation afterwards, it is in the chat. So you can see that there. All right. If you're watching a recording of this, there'll probably be a button on the page. All right. Then we're going to go, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself so you kind of know, where I'm coming from and why should you listen to anything I have to say, to be honest with you. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, tell you about our company, Lumi Wealth, and kind of what we're up to. I'll give you guys some helpful links. We'll talk about algorithmic trading and, why this is such a special time for algo trading and why it's such a valuable thing to do when it comes to investing. Then I'll show you a few strategy examples. I think you guys will really like this, see a few of them. I can't fit that many in. We have literally almost 100 algorithms at this point, right? So we have quite a few, so I can't take you through all of them, but I'll show you a couple ones that I find interesting and ones that kind of give you a sense of all the different things that we can do, right? So a lot of people, when they think algo trading, they think one type of algorithm, basically just something that buys and sells 1,000 times a minute or something like that, something like high frequency trading. We can do that with algorithms. That's definitely possible, but there's a lot more to it than that. And there's a lot of very interesting ways to make money, especially these days using things like AI and machine learning. There's a lot of really, really interesting things going on in the field. All right, so I'll show you a couple of different examples. And then we'll talk about how to continue learning if you want to keep going after this. All right, and then even though I have questions here at the end, again, if you guys have questions throughout, please feel free to ask. It's much more interesting when this is an interactive presentation. All right, cool. So start off a little bit. So let me tell you about myself, right? Why should you listen to anything I have to say? So this is kind of my background. I've been programming for about 25 years. I started when I was very, very young. I was 10, 12 years old when I learned how to code. I've been doing it ever since. Everything from building different products, building companies. I've sold a few different companies now for anything from a few $1 million to just before Lumi Wealth, I helped create a company that was worth in the billions, right? So I've ran software teams. I've coded for a very long time. I did my Master's of Finance degree as well at a top school out of Canada. It's called Schulich. For those of you, if you don't know what Canadian schools are, it's kind of like one of the Ivy Leagues in Canada. So good school, went through that. Why did I decide to do that? Well, it was because I was coding my entire life, did a degree in business because I really wanted to start my own company when I was younger and still do, right? Or it's kind of what we're doing right now. But then I always found finance fascinating because it's really probably the easiest thing to apply coding to, right? So if you learn how to code, if you wanted to apply that to the world of finance, it's very readily available. There's a lot of data out there. There's a lot of money to be made in this. And I always found that those worked very well together, which is why I decided to do my master's in finance from the beginning. All right. After graduating, I started my own company. We sold it. I'm legally not allowed to discuss how much we sold it for, but it was enough to kind of allow me to take a little vacation for a few months, which I did, travel the world for a little bit, and then basically ended up in Wall Street after that whole break and started working at a few different companies, Greystone being one of them, doing commercial mortgages, Voyager being another one. And Voyager was the most recent company I was at before we started Lumi Wealth 4 years ago. Voyager was a company that was really big in the crypto space. You may have heard of them. You may have used them. They're basically a crypto broker. If you've ever heard of Coinbase or Kraken or KuCoin, it was very similar to that. We managed to, I was employee number 4 there. When I showed up, nothing really existed. I helped hire the entire team, software team, I should say, and basically helped architect this entire thing from scratch. And we basically took it from a company being worth almost nothing, essentially nothing, right? We didn't really have anything, to at one point, it was worth $3 billion, right? So we're definitely one of the larger finance companies for a point in time until basically the whole crypto economy blew up, but that's an entirely different story. Nowadays, I'm CEO and founder of Lumi Wealth. I left Voyager before they blew up, helped the prize. Maybe if I had stuck around, maybe I could have told them not to do a few of these things, but it's all right. Right now, I'm the CEO and founder of Lumi Wealth, which I said we started about 4 years ago, right? So what is Lumi Wealth? If you're not familiar with us, this is basically what we're about, right? So we were founded in 2019, right? Why did we create this company? Well, it's really to help people invest better, right? So what does that mean exactly? It means we want to get people higher returns with lower risk, right? And, there's a lot of hedge funds out there trying to do this. There's a lot of investment funds out there trying to do this. There's a lot of reasons why I strongly believe that getting everyone higher investment returns is very positive, not only for you as an individual, but for the entire world, right? Because if we were able to, if you actually break down what investing is all about efficient allocation of capital, which basically means that we're giving money where it's going to produce value, right? And I strongly believe that the more efficient we get with this, the better companies we're going to have, the better products we're going to have, and everyone's going to have a much happier life overall. We're going to be funding a lot less business ventures that don't make sense, right? We're going to help companies be more strategic and more successful. And we can find, the diamonds in the rough, the people that can run and operate and build really good companies and trading algorithms and crypto coins and all that kind of stuff. So really strongly believe in our mission, right? So again, a lot of people are trying to do that, right? Is increasing returns and reducing risk. Ask any hedge fund manager, they're kind of trying to do that. We want to approach it in a very different way, right? We're not just going to sit there and try to be another hedge fund, even though we are probably going to form a hedge fund at some point as well. But we believe we could do this in a much more modern kind of way. We could use technology that we have today to do a lot better job than what a typical hedge fund would do, right? That's using software and AI because we can make it smarter, cheaper, faster. We can do things that the hedge fund industry just cannot do, right? They're all kind of in it for themselves. Right now, I'm thinking that the hedge fund and investment industry is kind of like Kodak before they got disrupted really badly by Instagram. They're very closed-minded. They're not really open to new things. And everything is a secretive wall where no one shares any information, right? We believe that software and AI could change that quite dramatically. We believe that we can get a lot more people better investment returns. We believe that technology is the thing that's going to be able to do that, right? Think about how hedge fund managers right now, they make, was it 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million a year? A lot of what these people are doing these days, we can actually automate with our algorithms and do the same job, if not better, than a hedge fund manager using software code and not charging $20 million, but charging more like $20, right? Very, very different economics. And when we work together as a team, we could do even better. I could talk to you guys a little bit about some software that we're building out. We're building a lot of really cool things to kind of go along those lines. All right. So we want to help people invest better, give you higher returns that are lower risk. We believe that we can use software and AI to do that. And how are we approaching this right now? More specifically, ground level. Well, we have our courses on algorithmic trading and other similar types of things to help people improve with their investments. And we're also building a lot of software to make it easier to build and manage these investment algorithms, right? So not only are we doing the courses, but we're also building a lot of really exciting software. We're in talks with a few different banks, some of which I can't talk about, but other ones, things like the Jamaican Stock Exchange, when we're speaking to a couple of different brokerages. We've been in talks with a few of the larger banks across Canada and spreading to the US as well. So we're in talks with a lot of different companies to use our technology to provide to you guys to actually make all this stuff a lot easier and better. All right. So we're working on our courses. We'll teach you how to build this kind of stuff. And we're also building software to make it easier and easier and easier to do this. All right. Okay, cool. So that's about myself and about Lumi Wealth. Let me know if you have any questions around that. In the meantime, if you want to type out your questions or whatever, I'm going to share with you a couple links. So first of all, I'm going to show you guys a link to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube has a lot of really good stuff on there. I'm going to click into this very quickly here, just so you can see. We have a lot of free classes if you want to. Strategy demos. We have recordings of a few of them here. There's a lot more than this that we have. I think we only have like 10 of them here. Like I said, we have like 100 bots at this point. But you can watch a few of them here if you want and just kind of get an idea. We've interviewed a bunch of different CEOs and people in the space. For example, John Ewing. This is someone I interviewed around the pandemic. It was kind of funny. We're still doing the whole mask thing around this time. But he's a guy that manages something like $600 million. I also interviewed Cliff Frazier, who manages a $200 million real estate portfolio. A good friend of mine, Uzair Kidwai, who manages a crypto decentralized trading platform, and a few other people. So if you want to learn more about investing in general, there's a lot of interviews. We have testimonials by some of our past students. If you want to see kind of what you can get out of this once you've finished learning how to do this stuff. Some people here have built some pretty impressive things. I know a few of these people here are making, triple-digit returns per year, so pretty amazing. Very happy that they're able to pull that off. All right, and then we have a bunch of other stuff. So check out our YouTube channel. There's a lot of stuff in here. It's free. There's a lot of free content. You can learn a lot more about what we're up to, about algo trading and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Another link I'm going to share with you is our Discord. Okay. And I'm going to put this into the chat here. Okay. And what is Discord? So when you click on this link, if you have a Discord account, it will allow you to just join our channel or our server, I should say. If you do not have a Discord account, we'll ask you to make one. Discord is basically kind of like Slack or Telegram or, name your chat app of choice. I think everyone at this point is using something. WhatsApp is another example. It's kind of like that, where basically we have our group and everyone kind of chats throughout. Here is what it looks like, right? For example, here's our live algo hour. And here's like some discussions we've been having. This is a new algorithm that we're developing, for example. One of our students here, Stacy, he ran a few tests and got a very good result. And we're actually investigating this right now. It's a very interesting algorithm. This is one using artificial intelligence. His back test was able to make a 3,000% a year return, almost 2,700% a year, which is pretty freaking crazy. I take that with a grain of salt. Do I actually think we're going to do 3,000%? Probably not. But even if we got 1/10 of that, that would be a very, very good accomplishment. All right. So anyways, point is you want to come in here, you come into our chat, you'll get to know a lot of other people building this kind of stuff. You'll see kind of what we're up to. If you have any questions about anything, you could ask it here. We have a bunch of different channels. This is our live algo hour channel that we've been going back and forth with. We've basically been building a new algorithm every week, right? So there's been a lot of activity here. We could also talk to our alumni, for example, in our alumni channel, ask people who have taken the course, what do you think, blah, blah, blah. You could talk to other people that have been around for quite some time as part of what we're doing. We have also broken down stocks, crypto, Forex, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in general in investing, if you're interested in algorithmic trading especially, this is a great place for you to be to learn more about the cutting edge stuff and what we've been up to. And if you have any questions, you could ask that as well. All right. Okay, so that's our YouTube, that's our Discord. Also, if you guys want to do a follow-up call after this, and I strongly suggest that you guys do, because I can only cover a certain amount of stuff. But if you were to book a call, you can speak with one of our experts. We've trained people very well over the years. and they can answer a lot of your questions around algo trading, point you in the right direction, give you some advice on certain aspects of things, and get you started with whatever you need help with, right? So book and call, I think that's a really good idea. I've shared that link with you. It's at lumiwealth.com/book a call, and that is inside of the chat, right? Okay, cool. So I've shared with you those links, right? Let me know if you have any questions around any of that stuff. All right, cool. So that's helpful links. And let's jump into it, right? So let's talk about algo trading and why you should care, or why anyone should care for that matter, right? So start off with, what exactly is algo trading? So hopefully given the fact that you're in this class right now. But as a quick repeat, it's basically using software to analyze data and automatically make trades. So in other words, it's trading robots, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that we're buying and selling 1,000 times a minute. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're day trading or swing trading. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're using AI. It could be any of those things and more, right? There's a lot of things we could do. If you think about it, there's so much data in this world today that we can actually analyze all sorts of really crazy stuff. Like think about using satellite imagery to figure out how many people visited Walmart last week, right? Take a look at satellites over the United States, check all the Walmart parking lots, how many cars do they have in it. We can have a pretty good idea as to, is Walmart's revenue going up or down, for example, right? We might also have a robot that, trades off the news. That's that, at 3,000% one that we're looking at. That's basically what it's doing. Is basically it's reading the news, sending that news to ChatGPT and saying, what do you think? Is this going to make the stock go up or go down? And we basically trade based off of that. Right. So there's a lot of really interesting things we could do, basically trading robots. And, a simple way to think about it is that, investing is all about just making smart decisions, right? The best investors in the world are really just the ones making the better decisions, who can predict things better, who can manage the risk better, that sort of thing. Now, if you think about it, using data, using software, and using AI will give you superpowers in this situation, right? If you're all about making smart decisions, well, what better way to make smart decisions than using artificial intelligence? This thing's growing very quickly. It's getting a lot smarter very quickly, right? I believe that, in the next 5-10 years, a lot of AI's capabilities is going to be superhuman. It's going to be things that no human being could possibly do. And we're already kind of in that space in a lot of different ways. Like, for example, that AI trading bot that I was showing you a little earlier that reads the news. This thing can read 100,000 articles a day. Please explain to me what human being can do that, right? So it's the ability to give you superpowers. It's using software and AI to help you with investing. It's to help you make smarter decisions faster and do a good job with these things, right? Okay, so that's what trading algorithms are, right? Let's talk about how this is being used in real life, right? So that's kind of like the theory behind it and like why we believe in it, right? But it's really not just a matter of opinion, right? There's a lot of companies out there, and actually most large hedge funds these days, most big investment funds are switching over to using software and technology to trade for them, right? One really good example of that is a hedge fund called Renaissance Technologies. It's founded by a guy named Jim Simmons, really, really interesting guy. Here's a book that was written about him called The Man Who Solved the Markets, because really he did solve the markets. It's pretty crazy. He makes a ton of money. This guy was a mathematician back in like the 70s. Thought, what if we try to build a hedge fund that basically uses software to trade instead of humans? Right, so he's a pioneer in this. He did this back in like the 70s or 80s. And this was before we really had any kind of powerful computers, right? So it was really difficult to do this actually back then. Imagine trying to build a trading algorithm before you had brokers they could connect to very easily. Before you even had Windows, I believe. They're doing this stuff in like DOS and whatnot. So they really did this back in the day. They pioneered their stuff and have done very, very well since. They are purely a quantitative fund, meaning a human being never places a trade. It is always a computer placing trades for them. These guys, if you read about their track record, they've done something like 66% a year on average. It's freaking crazy, 66% a year on average. And you might think, oh yeah, I did better than that in my crypto trading last year. Okay, that's great. Can you do that for 40 years in a row, right? These guys not only make incredibly high returns, but they do this consistently, year in, year out, no matter what's happening to the stock market. In 2008, they still made money. 2000, the crash, they still made money. 2020, they still made money. These guys, I think, only lost money ever, maybe 3/4 out of their entire existence, right? Which is, in the span of 40 years, almost nothing, right? Most hedge funds over a span of 40 years will blow up 3 times over, right? So these guys are making good returns very consistently. Last time I checked, they had about $110 billion in assets. That makes Jim Simmons one of the richest people on earth. If you look him up on the Forbes list, I think he's like number 30 or number 40 richest person on earth. That's because of this hedge fund. They've made a ton of money, right? If you read this book, and I shared the link with you guys in the chat, very interesting book. Basically talks about how they went from, starting up this fund from really nothing to being able to build this hedge fund that's making this crazy amount of money and made them extremely wealthy. There's some stories about how some people in the fund, they were like going off and buying mansions and forgetting about them. There's a story of how one of the guys, he bought like a $20 million house in some area that he wasn't supposed to, and the government came after him and said, hey, you gotta move your house, you gotta like demolish it or whatever. And he's just like, what? I didn't even know I had a house there. He like built a $20 million house and forgot about it. And that's not even the guy at the top. It's just one of the guys that helped start this fund. So very, very successful. They've done very, very well. And again, I encourage you guys to research them, check out the book, read up on Jim Simmons. He's a very impressive person. And, again, so you might say 66%, right? Well, how does that compare to other investors, right? So, for example, Warren Buffett, probably the most storied investor in the world, he's only made 20 to 30% over his entire lifespan. So we're talking about Jim Simmons here that did triple the returns of Warren Buffett per year, right? Not overall, per year did triple. George Soros, whether you like him or not, he was a very good investor. He only did 20%. Carl Icahn, this guy has theaters named after him. He has was it a baseball field named after him in New York? He only made 13% a year, right? So we're talking about someone that has made better returns than all these guys combined per year going forward. It's pretty crazy. So for those of you that don't have an education in finance, what does that look like for your investments, right? So let's put it this way: if you invested $10,000 into the stock market, okay, and you held it for 10 years, okay, you put that money in and you forgot about it for 10 years and you just walked away. A lot of people would recommend to do that. It's a good idea. I mean, the stock market does pretty well, right? It does on average about 10% a year, right? If we're talking about the S&P 500, if you put in $10,000 after 10 years, you'd end up with 25 grand, almost 26, 25,937 to be exact. After 10 years, you made 10% a year. Okay. If you made instead 66% a year, you're not going to make 6 times more, right? You're not going to make 7 times more. You're going to make a very dramatically higher amount of money, right? And that's because it's 66% per year. It's 6 times more per year, and that compounds over time. So if you had given money to Jim Simmons back in the day, you gave him $10,000 and you earned that 66%, you would not end up with 25,000 after 10 years. You'd end up with 1.6 million after 10 years. Significantly more money. This is why Jim Simmons, he's one of the richest people on earth. There's a reason for that. It's because these guys just make people extremely wealthy with the funds that they're using. Okay. Not only can they make themselves a lot of money, but they've made other people a lot of money as well. Right. Cool. But that's one example, right? That's Jim Simmons, legendary investor. He's really done a very good job with this stuff. Pioneered this sort of algorithmic trading or quantitative trading. But he's not the only one. And like I said, almost every hedge fund and investment fund today is starting to do something with AI or with data science or flat out just automating the processes, right? This is something that's going across the board in the entire industry, right? And here's a few examples, right? Another hedge fund is called Two Sigma. These guys manage about $60 billion worth of assets, probably a lot more now, actually. This is figured 2 years ago. And these guys, very consistent. They make returns that are better in the stock market with barely any risk. It's pretty incredible. They manage lots of money for big institutions, and they do not place trades manually. They just basically have algorithms automatically doing the stuff for them, investing on their behalf, and make a ton of money for their investors. Another one is Citadel, right? You might have heard of Ken Griffin, right? They run a lot of stuff. I've heard that they have a very small company. It's only like 20, 30 people or something like that. But they manage a ton of money. Their hedge fund manages about 32 billion in assets last time I checked. And they also have a lot of other operations. Like they're the guys behind Robinhood, for example. If you use Robinhood app, they're the ones that are actually placing those trades for you. Basically, when you use Robinhood, you're trading with Citadel, the algorithm. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, right? But if you ever go on the Robinhood app and you place a trade, you are not trading with a human. You are trading with a robot, right? And actually, if you look at the trades on the stock market, most of the times you are not trading with a human being. There's a lot more robots out there trading. It's something like 90% of all trades now are done by robots, right? So Citadel is just one example of that basically does all the trading behind Robinhood, right? These guys make a ton of money as well. Ken Griffin, if you look him up, he's also on the Forbes list. I think he was like number 30 or 20. They move a lot, so it's kind of hard to keep track. But another guy is set on the Forbes list. You know, I hope you guys are starting to realize this, right? All these people that are in this investing world, all these people that are in investing, the smart ones are all using technology. They're all using data science, and it's making them a ton of money. So when you're in this space, you're in a very good space with a lot of other people making tons of cash. Another one is Bridgewater, right? If you ever heard of Ray Dalio, famous investor, he runs the biggest hedge fund on earth. Last time I checked, there's about $138 billion in assets. I think they've made quite a bit of money since then. I know they had a few very good years. And if you listen to Ray Dalio, which I do a lot, he has a lot of really good books out that I recommend you read. He is a legendary investor, to say the least. He is extremely interested in putting more AI technology inside their company. They're seeing such good returns from it. It's really helping out their operations quite a bit. So they're investing a lot in hiring people like this. Actually, Bridgewater in general is firing people, but they're hiring a lot of software engineers specifically to come in and help with AI and data science, right? So the kind of stuff that we do, right? D.E. Shaw is another one. There's someone very famous that used to work here. Let me know if you guys know who that is. I'll give you guys a little bit of time to write that out. But D.E. Shaw had a very, a very successful person, to say the least, that used to work there. The story goes, this guy used to work at D.E. Shaw when he was in his 20s, basically got a job there, learned all about, what they did. And D.E. Shaw is really just using technology, using data to make decisions on their investments, right? Should we buy this stock or that stock? Should we do whatever, right? And this person, a young Jeff Bezos, used to work at D.E. Shaw, helping them out with that. He would help them write some software code. He'd help analyze companies. He would analyze data, that sort of stuff. And Jeff Bezos, when he was there, he noticed a very interesting trend, and that's in the internet. He's like, wow, the internet's growing so fast. It's something like 1,000% a year growth rate. This is super interesting. So basically, he found that, he decided to build his own business, or he wanted to build, this bookstore back in the day. So he's like, if the internet's growing this quickly, what can we do? Decided to quit D.E. Shaw, even though they're paying him a ton of money back then. I've heard it's like quite a bit of cash that he was making at these hedge funds. These guys all pay very well, by the way. Very, very good salaries. I've heard working at Bridgewater, $1 million salary is not strange at all. That's a pretty common salary at Bridgewater or a lot of these other places, right? So he's making very good money, but he's like, you know what? I want to start my own business. So he went off, started Amazon, and the rest is history, right? So the way that he got his idea for Amazon was through D.E. Shaw, through using all these techniques with analyzing stocks and analyzing trends using software, using data science, right? Okay, cool. So that's why we're super excited about algo trading, right? And it's a couple examples of people that have done this and companies in the space, right? So let me show you guys a little bit about kind of what we do, right? So let me show you a couple of our strategy examples, right? Now, I'm going to show you a couple of these. These are just a group of different ones. They're not necessarily our best ones. They're not our worst ones. They're kind of in the middle. But I want to show you a few different examples of things that you can do when you're building trading algorithms, right? So just to kind of give you a flavor of everything, right? So I'm going to show you 4 different algorithms today, but like I said, we have quite a few more, and there's a lot of different things. Pretty much anything you could think of. If you're an investor, if you're a trader, pretty much anything that a human being can do at this point, we can automate using algorithms. All right, so think about that, right? So think about all these different investment strategies that are out there, everything from swing trading to fundamental analysis to using macroeconomic forces, all these different things we can automate, right? So to give you a couple of examples, here's 4 of them, right? So here's one algorithm, yeah. This is called our trend following algorithm. It uses, we call it our double EMA trend following strategy is what we call it. And basically what this strategy does is we've written some software code that will automatically invest, in this case, a bunch of crypto, okay? It takes a list of crypto assets. In this case, I've given it Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Takes those 3 and looks at whether they're trending up or down. How are they doing, right? If Bitcoin is trending up, we're going to buy some Bitcoin. If Ethereum's trending up, we're going to buy some Bitcoin. And if they're both are, then we're going to go 50-50 into each one. If 3 things are trending up, then we'll invest a third of our money into all 3. Okay. So essentially, we're looking at these 3 assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and we're saying, are they trending up? If they are, buy them, right? If none of them are trending up, then we sell them and we sit in cash, right? And this is the result from that strategy. So this is from 2019, January, all the way up until almost today. I ran this a few weeks ago, right? The blue line is our strategy and how we've been doing, or how this strategy would have done. And then the yellow line is Bitcoin itself, right? And now Bitcoin since 2019 has done very, very well by itself. It's done about 53% a year since 2019, okay? Very good returns. Eat your heart out, S&P 500, right? But our strategy did even better, right? We did 80% a year, okay? If you had invested in this strategy since 2019, January, you would have made 80%, 0.31, versus if you had bought Bitcoin, you would have only, and I say that in quotes, you would have only made 53%. So we did quite a bit better. And you can see on this line here, the blue line, we're pretty much above Bitcoin the whole way through. Especially in times when things go bad, right? Because we're a trend following strategy, when the trend starts to fall, we exit, right? Because we only want to be in this when things go well. So you can see there's all these flat lines here. When Bitcoin's going down, we're staying flat, right? So it's not only buying the assets that are going up the most, but it's also getting us out at moments when the crypto markets are going against us, right? So our average return per year is about 80% for this one, right? This is how it performed, right? Or what it performed over that time period. The benchmark, the Bitcoin did 53% over time period. If you know what a Sharpe ratio is, we had a Sharpe of around 1 over this time period, whereas Bitcoin only had a Sharpe of 0.81. That's because it's very volatile, right? But this is a very good return, right? And our max drawdown was 71%, which is better than Bitcoin, and our volatility was less than Bitcoin as well. So we're making more money, we're taking less risk, right? So that sounds like a very good idea to me. And I'm going to stop here because I have a question. So Cam K Toe, hello, has a question. Can a bot trade multiple strategies, say range and trend, or two different bots required? You can definitely have a bot trade both. Absolutely. So, building a bot that has multiple different strategies at once can be a very smart idea, right? Where you'll have one that's analyzing one specific kind of trend, maybe when things go up, and then you'll have another part of the bot that's trading when things go down. And a lot of those can make quite good returns, right? So you could run it both ways. You could have two bots. You could have one doing each thing, have two separate accounts, and just trade it that way. Or you could combine them both into one super bot and make it that way, right? I've seen people do it both ways. Another question here from Emmanuel. Do you sell when the EMA is crossed down, or are you only buying? In this case, we're only buying. We're not short selling, right? We could very easily modify this algorithm to short sell as well. We just didn't do that with this algorithm. Maybe we do even better if we start short selling as well. Short selling is a bit risky though, because it doesn't tend to happen very often. The probability is not really on your side, because things tend to trend up, especially with stocks or crypto. But if you can get the timing right, and if you could sell at the appropriate moment, you can really boost your returns and reduce your risk quite a bit. But in this case, this bot is only buying or going into cash, right? It's only doing one of those two. But we can modify it if we want to do that. And we could back test it, see what I've done. This is the advantage of building trading algorithms, right? Is that we could take, for example, your idea here, Emmanuel, and we can code that into the strategy. And then it's not about, oh, will it work? Won't it work? Try it out. We're not guessing at it. We can actually back test it and see what would it have done in the past, right? So there's a lot less guessing going on here and a lot more analytical approach to investing, right? So we could actually take your strategy, Emmanuel, and actually test that out and see how it does, right? And that's a big advantage here. So thank you guys for that question. If you guys, I'm going to share the presentation with you guys again, because I saw a few more people join in case you want to see these slides. Because if you want to look at any of these strategies, we give you a much deeper breakdown here. So if you want to see the full tear sheet, exactly how this thing performed in detail, right? You can actually download this here. When I just open it up, right? And here's our tear sheet, and you can go through all the details. It gives you, every time we run a back test, we get a lot. Like I said, we're very analytical with our investing. You can get a lot of details about everything that happened. What was the best day? The best day made 33% in a day. Wow, amazing. Worst day was 18% loss, which is a lot better than Bitcoin, for example. If you want to look at the monthly returns, how do we do each month? The best month was May 2019, right? We see a 65% return in that 1 month alone, which is pretty amazing. We can get a really detailed breakdown of exactly what this strategy would have done and how it would have handled all these different scenarios, right? So you get a lot of details. You could also get a trade breakdown as well if you want. If you're wondering what exactly this thing did, what was it trading, you can get that breakdown too. And this is exactly what trades it would have placed. All right, I'm just going to download this here. Click on it. And here's all the trades. This is this is our cash, right? So we see our cash going up and down, this green line. If I get rid of that, you see here the red line is basically Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin USD, right? And then we have our strategy here, the crypto double EMA trending, the blue line, and the red and green arrows are when we bought and sold. So for example, on this date here, we would have bought 4.52 Ethereum at a price of $4,577 each. And this was specifically on December 3rd at 2:09 a.m., right? So you can go through and actually see exactly what each one of these strategies would have done and go through it in detail. So you get a lot of information about this stuff. All right. Okay, so that's one of our strategies, a crypto-based strategy that uses moving averages. Okay, basically it's looking at 4 different moving averages. There's I think this one was using a 12 and a 32 and a 12 and a 26. And if the 12 is above the 32 and the 12 is above the 36, then that constitutes that we're trending up, and that's when we buy that asset, right? So if you want to know the details behind this. Okay, so that's one of our strategies, right? Let's show you another one. This is a different kind of strategy, right? this is one that you might want to use if you want to do some short-term type trading, right? And this can work in certain types of markets, something like a mean reversion strategy. You may have heard of something like this before. Basically, what it does is you probably want to be trading something that moves around a lot, right? So Bitcoin is a pretty good example of that. And basically, we're going to be buying and selling based on if this thing is moving too much, right? So we're specifically, in this case, looking at RSI and Bollinger Bands, if you guys are familiar with those. If the RSI is above, I think, 80, and if we're above our top Bollinger Band, so meaning this thing has moved up a lot, probably moved up too quickly, that's when we'll sell, and we'll actually short sell in this strategy, I believe. And if it goes the opposite direction, right? If our RSI is below 20, I believe, and we're below our lower Bollinger Band, right? Meaning that we're oversold, right? Then we'll end up buying. So we're constantly just buying and selling and buying and selling. And it produces this really interesting looking graph here, where if you had invested in this strategy since this is a shorter time period because I don't actually know. I should do this over a longer time period. But just when I back tested it, this is what happened. It's been a while. I haven't updated this. I should update it. But over this time period from 2021 to 2022, so it's about a year and a half or so, this strategy would have produced about an 85 or 86% a year return, whereas Bitcoin over that same time period only did 26%, right? Which gave us a Sharpe ratio that's almost double that of Bitcoin over the time period, and had a better volatility, had a better max drawdown. We're taking less risks. We're making bigger amounts of money. Win-win. It's fantastic. And if you see here, you can see our strategy in blue is basically pretty steadily moving up, right? Whereas Bitcoin is moving around all over the place, right? So it's much more stable and can give quite good returns, right? That's what this strategy aims to do, right? And this is that back test that we ran over that time period, okay? So it's a simulation of what would have happened, okay? Now, if you want to go into details of how this thing worked out, we can go into a tear sheet here, and I'll get our trades as well, and you can kind of see what it's doing, right? I'm going to download our tear sheet, and I'm going to download our trades. There we go, I'm getting both. All right, and I'll show you guys what this looks like in more detail. So here's that tear sheet, right? And then here is, I don't know why this download's taking so long. But here's that tear sheet, right? You can see basically all the details, right? How to do month over month, all the different metrics. Basically, it looks like here, it's winning most months. It's a pretty stable algorithm, right? It lost in May. Pretty much it's only like real losing month. Pretty much every other month was positive, right? So a pretty stable algorithm that's basically just buying and selling, staying within this range here, right? Using RSI and Bollinger Bands. Yeah. If you want to see the trades, this is what they look like. And you can actually go through each trade and see all the details, right? If you're interested in figuring out exactly the details behind this thing, right? Here it is. I'm going to get rid of the cash line because it makes it look much more busy. And you can see here, this is where I bought and where it's sold. And you can see that basically all it's doing is just trading Bitcoin. If Bitcoin gets overheated, it sells it. If it gets oversold, it buys it. And it's just constantly doing this buy and sell type thing throughout the day, right? Cool. Okay. So that's two of our strategies, right? Let me know if you guys have any questions or on either one of those. I know you had a few questions about the first one, right? So we've talked about two crypto strategies. So let's talk about two other ones here. So another strategy here is our diversified leverage strategy. This is a stock trading strategy. Okay, you can see here this thing smokes the S&P 500. In this case, our blue line is our strategy using this diversified leverage approach. Actually, this thing I back tested about a month ago. If we did it now, this would be a heck of a lot higher because of what happened in the markets. We would be doing a lot better right now, actually. But we'll take what we have. You see that this strategy pretty much throughout its entire existence, we did this from 2010 up until about a month ago. You can see that pretty much throughout the whole thing, it's been above the S&P 500 the whole way through. Okay, the yellow line is S&P 500 or SPY specifically, the ticker, right? And blue line is our strategy. Okay, so what is this thing doing, right? How is it beating the market like that? Well, it's following a book, or it's following a page from the book of Ray Dalio, right? If you listen to Ray Dalio, we were talking about him a little earlier today. He has, the world's biggest hedge fund and has a very good track record. And if you listen to him and ask him, how should you invest? One of the first things he says is you need to learn to diversify well, right? So he goes into details about how to do that, where you want to be in different countries, you want to be in different asset classes, right? Basically, you want to have a certain amount of money in debt and treasuries, right? If you want to have a certain amount of money in stocks, and then you want to have a certain amount of money in gold and commodities, right? And he says this because you want to protect yourself against all the different scenarios that can happen in the economy. Are we in a situation where the economy is growing slowly and we're in high inflation, stagflation kind of environment that we've been kind of in lately? What tends to happen in a period like that? Bonds do very badly, stocks don't tend to do well, but commodities go through the roof, which we've seen lately. Oil companies, um, gold mining companies, gold itself, they all go through the roof, right? So what we're doing is we're doing the same sort of portfolio that he recommends, right? Where we have our money diversified very well so we reduce our risks, right? And then what we do is we add a little bit of leverage, right? So we use triple leveraged ETFs. We use things like UPRO or TQQQ or TMF, which is a leveraged uh, treasury ETF, right? And we'll invest in all those and rebalance them regularly, right? So basically, we reduce our risks using diversification, and then we increase those risks again using leverage, and we end up making this very, very nice return curve here for our strategy, right? This would have made 22% per year. Again, this is when I back tested it, it was in a very bad period. I bet you this would be closer to 25 or 30% if we did it today, right? And then that's versus the benchmark, or the S&P 500, which was doing around 13% over this time period. So we did almost double the returns of the S&P 500. We got a higher Sharpe ratio than it. Our volatility and our max drawdown are a little higher, not triple because they're triple leverage stuff. So, we get a much higher return without taking as much risk, right? But it is a little bit riskier. So if you guys want to use this type of strategy, this is maybe don't put your life savings into all this, right? Because it'll probably give you a bit of a headache when it goes up and down, but in the long run can make you quite a bit of money, right? Just looking at these back tests, the returns are quite astounding for this type of algorithm, right? Again, if you want to see the full breakdown of how it was trading, you can download it here. If you want to get the full tear sheet of all the details of what it's done, you can get it here. But this is another one of our strategies, our diversified leverage strategy. I personally have a bunch of my own money in this as well, right? Okay, cool. So that's three. And let's show you one more before we move on, right? So here's another strategy called our Congress trading strategy. This one's a rock star. It's done quite well. You can see here the blue line is our strategy. The yellow line is the S&P 500 over the same time period, right? And over this time period, it was actually not a good time for stocks, right? You can see here that the line was actually trending down. I couldn't go back further because we didn't have data, but I'd love to even go back further in this. You can see that the S&P was in negative territory pretty much the whole time, whereas our strategy was in the positive territory pretty much the whole time. And we beat it by a pretty substantial margin, right? We ended up getting 17% a year using this back test versus the S&P, which only did 3%. So something like, what is that? 6 times higher returns per year. So pretty damn good, right? The Sharpe ratio is also a lot better for those of you that care about that. And our volatility and other risk metrics are actually really good too. Our max drawdown was lower. Our volatility was pretty similar, right? So we're not taking that much more risk, but we're getting a pretty substantial return here, right? So what is this thing doing? Okay, so basically what it does is it checks what members of Congress are buying, right? So people like Nancy Pelosi or Mitt Romney, any of those guys, looks at all of the stuff that they own, because when they trade stocks, they legally have to report it and let people know, hey, I bought Microsoft, or hey, I bought some JP Morgan stock. They have to let people know legally. So we can actually pull that from the records and see what they bought on each time period and basically copy them, right? So in this case, we set up an algorithm that looks back, I think it goes over a 21-day period, and then any stock that was bought more than twice, we buy that as well. So for example, Microsoft, people bought that pretty often over the past year, members of Congress did. So we own Microsoft almost the whole way through, right? And there's a bunch of these other small companies, right? Now, why do we want to do this, right? Well, we want to do this because A, Congress has insider information. There's no way to get around that. They know a heck of a lot more about these stocks than you do. And not only that, but they're also passing laws to change these companies. So why in the world would you invest in a company when you're trying to pass a law to shut it down or to take down that industry, right? So these guys definitely have a lot more insider information, have a lot more power than we do, unless there's a senator on the call right now, maybe, right? If it is, hello. But basically, this strategy was able to copy members of Congress, and this is the result that we ended up getting. So quite a substantial result, right? Cool. All right. So that's a couple of them. Those are just 4 different strategies. Like I said, we have a lot more that we've built. Like for example, a strategy I was telling you about earlier today, this new one that we're working on that I'm personally very excited about, that basically uses ChatGPT to trade the news. We ran this in a few different ways. We got everything from 1,000% a year, which is pretty insane, all the way up until about 3,000% a year. I still want to kind of vet this one a little bit more because maybe it's doing something a little funny, but definitely some very, very interesting results that I think could be really cool. And we've covered a lot more of them. If you go through our Discord, you can see a lot of these algorithms that we talk about. We post our results pretty often, right? And we can kind of see how all these things perform, right? So we have a lot of algorithms out there. If you decide to join us full time, then you actually get access to not only how to learn how to build these things, but you also get access to all of our code and all of our strategies, right? So definitely a really good perk. All right. Now, speaking of which, I got a question here. Lorado says, can you send an email of the pre-recording? I'm assuming you mean the recording of this, right? Yes, we will be sending out a recording of this, and you will be able to get that probably sometime tomorrow or after tomorrow. You'll get that in your email, right? So we will be sending out a recording of this, right? Cool. Great question. Thanks, Lorado. Okay, cool. So that being said, let's say if you guys want to continue doing this, you want to learn how to build your own algorithms from scratch like this, right? We have an entire course that will teach you how to build not only everything that you saw today, all these algorithms, you'll get the code for, you'll be able to use them, run them, modify them, whatever you want to do with them. You'll also get another 40, 50 on top of that you'll be able to use, and you'll also learn how to build these things on your own. We build a bunch of algorithms during class, so you'll get access to a lot of those things, right? But here's our larger class on algorithmic trading, right? This is kind of our flagship course. We've been teaching this class for about 4 years now. We've had some very successful students come out. If you read or watch some of our reviews, you'll see just how well some of them are doing. We pride ourselves on having very happy customers and making sure that people do really well. So we've had some pretty astounding results for some people. But let's say you want to take this class, you want to really dive into this and learn how to build these things, get access to all of our code, and try to run some of these algorithms yourself. Here's the here's the course that you want to take. I'm going to share this link with you inside the chat in case you want to check it out. This is our algorithmic trading course. Here's learning outcomes, right? And this is our curriculum, right? It's a 12-week long course where we will take you from, even if you don't know how to code, we'll show you the basics of it. You do not need to be a coding expert. You do need to know the basics though. We'll take you through that, even if you've never coded a day in your life before. And we'll take you all the way until building these algorithms, running them yourself, running them in the cloud, and building things like machine learning bots or building bots that maybe you have some ideas in mind, right? So in those 12 weeks, what we go over is week 1 is basically a course introduction. We'll teach you, we'll help set up your system. Everyone will get introductions, that sort of thing, right? It's a really fun kind of day where we all get to know each other. Week 2 is a Python refresher. So for those of you that have never coded a day in your life before, you will learn the basis of Python here in a week. For those of you that do know how to code, it's not going to be too much. We don't spend a ton of time learning how to code in Python, but we'll teach you kind of the things that are the most important, right? We cut the BS and go straight to the meat. Week 3, we're going to talk about how to set up a back test. So all these things I was showing you today, these back tests, you'll learn how to run them yourself, and you'll be able to produce these graphs and modify things and see how all these algorithms are doing. So you'll learn that in week 3. Week 4, you'll learn about pandas for algo trading. So it's learning how to, it's not pandas the animal, it's a pandas, it's a library in Python that basically allows you to download data from the internet, do your own analysis on things, and do all these types of things. And we'll talk about how to create a technical analysis bot that day as well. So if you want to do things like with MACDs or crossing moving averages or whatever, you'll learn how to do that in week 4, right? Okay, then we go into part 2. In week 5, you'll learn how to run your bot live and in the cloud. So you'll learn how to get a bot started, run it in the cloud, so it's not on your computer, so that this thing is constantly trading for you 24/7 without you having to pay attention to this thing, right? It'll be buying and selling stocks for you or options or crypto or whatever, right? We'll show you how to do that. We'll get the whole thing set up. And by this time, around week 5, everyone should have a bot running. And actually, we do this with fake money at first, just so you guys get a feel for it, right? But basically, everyone should have a bot running for them, and you'll be able to see the results of that, right? A lot of people, they take these bots and they run them for a bit and they're like, wow, I made a ton of money. So, okay, great, perfect. So then you'll get a chance to figure out, do you want to run this thing with real money? What do you want to be doing exactly? And you kind of can make that decision on your own. But in week 5, you'll have a bot running, at least against fake money, so you can actually see the results of what's happening, right? So Roberto asks, is the backtesting engine exclusive to Lumi Wealth users? No, it is not. It is an open source library. We've done that on purpose, right? So this way you're not locked into anything that we're doing. So if you ever say, whatever, I want to use a different data source, I want to do whatever, you can do that yourself, and you don't have any vendor lock-in or any kind of issues like that. We don't take any kind of fees for using our technology. It's open source, so you guys can use this from scratch, right? Cool. So good question. Thanks, Roberto. Let me know if I answer your question fully, if we have a follow-up. Okay. So week 5, you'll have your own bot running. Hopefully it makes you some pretty good money. We run like a little trading competition throughout the whole class. So we'll see, who picked the best bot and how is it all working. And, in an ideal situation, everyone makes tons of money by the end of class. That doesn't always happen. But a lot of times people run these things and be like, wow, like by the end of week 12, they've made a good amount of cash, at least if it's fake money. They kind of get a sense of the power of these things, right? Week 6, we talk about market mechanics. We'll talk about different order types, how the markets work, and ways they can actually take advantage of that using order books and things like that. Week 7, we'll talk about how to work with stock and economic data, right? So we'll show you how to get data on everything, right? Like it's amazing how much stuff is out there, right? Sure, you'll be able to get pricing information on how Apple stock is moving, whatever, but we'll also show you how to get things like weather data. If you want to trade commodities, for example, weather is very important for like livestock or wheat or things like that. If you want to trade those types of things, we'll show you how to get economic data, things like inflation, things like GDP data, unemployment. You can trade all that, and not only from the US, but around the world, right? So you can build an algorithm that trades the US based on inflation. You can also do that in India, in China, in Canada, in Australia, in Brazil, like you can do this across the whole world, and we'll show you how to do that sort of thing. Right, so we'll show you all these different data sources and all the things they have available so that you can basically use different types of data to trade, right? Then also during week 6, we're going to build a bot together live. I'm going to build this from scratch, and I'm going to ask you guys what you want to have built, right? So if you have an idea for a bot, let me know, and we can build it during our class, and we can actually see the result of it. We can back test it, and we can run it live and all that sort of thing. Junior asks, my apologies, I missed the price of the course. Can you please explain again? I haven't gotten to that yet. I will get to that in, let's say, 2 minutes. All right. Yeah. All right. So just to finish off, as soon as pretty much I'm finished with the curriculum here. All right. Okay. So week 7, getting all that data and showing how to do that. Building your own algorithm, building it from scratch. Week 8, we'll talk about financial performance metrics. So we'll talk about how do you want to evaluate if you have a good strategy or not. So we'll talk about metrics like we did today, CAGR, standard deviation, max drawdown, Sharpe ratios. We'll go through all that. We'll talk about how do you analyze your bot and see if it's doing well, right? And how do you improve it, right? And then we'll also build another bot together live during class. So you'll see how to build this thing from scratch, right? You'll watch me build it from very beginning to very end. You'll see me in 30 minutes or an hour build out a bot completely from scratch, right? So if you want to have something built, let me know. We could build that during class. Or you could just watch someone else's bot being built and see the results of that. And if it's a good one, you could keep the code and use it yourself as well, right? Okay, cool. Then week 9, we're going to go over a debt trading case study. So this is basically how we went about building our debt trading bot. The whole process of analyzing this and figuring out how should we be doing all these things, right? And you'll see again a bot being built from very beginning to very end. So you get a lot of exposure to seeing how these things get built, right? There's a question here from Cam K. As for the instrument, futures are pretty limited, but stock selection is kind of widespread. That just seemed like more criteria building in with stock trading, unless it's a specific stock. So I'm not entirely sure I understand what your question is here. Stock selection is kind of widespread. That just seemed like more criteria building in with stock trading, unless it's a specific stock. There's ways to make money in every market, right? I've seen people make money in futures, quite a bit of money actually. I've seen people make money with stocks. I've seen people make money with Forex, although it's a little harder to do with Forex. I think a lot of people, when they they start with Forex trading, they watch all those YouTube channels and don't realize that literally the worst type of trading you could do is Forex. It has the lowest probability of success and the lowest investment returns. But in general, there's ways to make money with everything, right? Stocks, crypto, futures, we do it all. And there's different ways of trading each one and making money with each one. Okay, so the question is, your strategy is trading a specific stock or with a stock selection criteria to begin with, and then apply the strategy as just one more layer. It depends on the strategy, right? So for example, our Congress trading strategy, I'm not giving it a list of stocks. It's getting this from the legally where they have to put what trades they made, right? So we're not putting in any stocks here. We're finding that out from Congress, members of Congress. In the case of diversified leverage, we give it a preset set of ETFs. There's like maybe 8 different ETFs that we trade, and only those, right? In this case, we're only trading Bitcoin. In this case, we're only trading Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum, right? So it depends on the strategy. Each strategy is going to be different, right? So one strategy, you might only give it, one asset to trade, just see what it does there. Another strategy might be, everything is game, right? There's 50,000 or 100,000 different stocks in the US. It can just trade all of them, right? And it will do its own stock screening and all of that kind of stuff. So it depends on the strategy, right? Again, you might have a strategy that you just want to trade a few ETFs, or you might have a strategy that, that I could do a screener, and so it really depends, right? There's a lot of different strategies. There's many different ways to make money in this stuff. My personal suggestion and what I do, or at least I'll say this is what I do, is I invest in a few different algorithms. I'll pick our best ones. I'll put some money into each one. That way, I'm able to diversify myself, right? If one strategy does extremely well one year, awesome, perfect. I'll make some money off that. If one strategy doesn't do well, the other ones will pick up the slack. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way that I approach it, right? But yeah, every strategy is different, so it's kind of hard to say that from the beginning, right? Cool, great, perfect. Thanks, Cam. It's a great question. Question is, do you run different accounts with different bots? Yes, I run a different account with each bot. It just makes it easier to manage that way, because if you have like 10 different bots instead of one brokerage account, it's really hard to keep track of what bot wants to own what. Not impossible, it can be done, but it's just easier if you have a different account for each bot. That way it owns this thing completely, right? And you can just trade, it just trades there, it doesn't have to worry about anyone else messing with it, right? So I have one account per bot, is the way that I have it set up. All right, great question. Cool. I can tell that you've been researching all this stuff, so that's really cool. I'm glad that you're here. Okay, cool. So we talked about week 9, week 10 and week 11. What we're going to go over in the class is, again, it's a 12-week class, right? Week 10 and week 11, it's really kind of up to you guys, right? We leave this open and we'll say, do you want to build some new bots? We can build some new bots from scratch here if you guys have an inkling for something that you want to build. Or we can go over some of our bots that we have in our library, and I can show you how they were built and how you can modify them, right? In either case, you'll get a chance to explore a bunch of new algorithms here, how they work, and you'll have new stuff to play with and tinker and modify and do whatever you want to do with, right? So you'll get access to a lot of different strategies and a lot of different, you'll witness a lot of them being built, right? Then week 12 is a very special week in the class. It's the last week of the class. And this one is basically our introduction to machine learning. So you'll learn how to build basically machine learning using bots, right? So it's for those of you who don't know what machine learning is, it's kind of the precursor to AI. When people talk about artificial intelligence, they really mean machine learning. Machine learning is what makes Teslas be able to drive themselves. It's what gives Amazon the ability to recommend different products to you, or Netflix to recommend different products. It's the thing that powers ChatGPT. It's the thing that powers Midjourney, right? And can create all these crazy looking images. All this new stuff happening in artificial intelligence is machine learning, right? That's the actual name for it. That's the technology behind all this stuff, right? So in week 12, we'll teach you how to do the basics of that, right? We'll show you how machine learning works, all the details about it, and then basically how would you build a bot that uses machine learning and artificial intelligence to trade, right? And you'll get a nice introduction to that in week 12, right? Okay, so 12-week class, you'll basically start off, even if you don't know how to code, you'll start building some strategies, back testing them. You'll learn how to trade this thing yourself. You'll have this thing running on money throughout the entire class, pretty much from week 5 until week 12. You'll have a bot running on the cloud. We'll start you off with fake money, so you can see basically what this thing's doing, and you can make adjustments, and you can do whatever you want to do there. And then by the end of the class, you'll have learned how to build algorithms. You'll learn how to run them yourself. You'll learn how to modify them, and you'll get access to all of these different strategies that we've built and more going forward, right? So very action-packed 12 weeks, right? So let's say you want to take this class. We have 3 different plans on how you can take these. We have our self-directed plan, which basically is just the course recordings, right? So you can watch the recordings of all the classes that happened in the past, and you get access to our library of code, right? So if you want to use any of the strategies, you can download all of them, use whichever one you want, modify them however you want. And then you'll get access to our community where you'll get help from other students. You'll get help from myself, who's teaching this class, right? So if you ever have a question, you can reach out to me. And then you also get a chance to join some of our study groups and things like that too. All right. So that's our self-directed plan. And basically it's, we call it self-directed because you're going to go through, you're going to watch the videos yourself, and you're going to use the code yourself and kind of take it at your own pace, right? The live classes, you're going to get all of that, right? So you're going to get all the recordings, you're going to get all the code, you're going to get access to our community and all that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, you're going to be able to join our classes live. So like this, for example, this is live right now. You guys are asking questions, so I'm able to answer them directly. For our live classes, it's actually going to be over Zoom. So you're going to be able to turn on your microphone, share your screen. If you're stuck anywhere, you can share your screen. We can fix it for you right during class. It's a lot more interesting. People love this option because A, it holds you accountable. B, you get to really immerse yourself in all this. You get to know other people in the class. You get to ask questions during the class. So you really get to be a part of this. So you get stuck less often. It's much easier to go through it. And then on top of that, you also get a lot more support hours as well. So if you want to do some one-on-one time, I forget exactly how much time you get, but you get quite a bit of one-on-one time if you ever get stuck anywhere or need help with anything, right? That's our live classes. So everything's building on itself, right? So self-directed, you get the videos and the code and access to our community. Live classes, you get all of that, plus the live classes and more help. And then the last one, this is our premium package. This is becoming pretty quickly our most popular plan. And this one has, all the recordings, all the code. You get to be part of our live classes. And then also, you're going to get a ton of extra support, right? So if you want, we can actually build bots for you. We have a whole team that can build trading bots. So if you have one in particular in mind, let's say you have some strategy or like, oh, I've been trading this for a while and it makes me money, I want to automate it, we can do that for you. If you have some strategies you want to explore, we can do that. Or if you just want to have a lot of tutoring time, right? You don't have to spend your hours on, getting something developed. You can also just get a lot of one-on-one tutoring, right? But in either case, you get a lot of time from myself and our team to basically make sure that you can get through all this material as quickly and easily as possible, and so that you have some bots that you're very happy with at the end of the day, right? So that's our 3 different plans. They all build on on themselves, right? Our most popular is probably our live classes, but then our project help tutoring, as I said, is getting quite popular as well, right? So you asked about prices. Here's our prices for our different packages, right? Our self-directed class, if you want to have access to the video library and the library of code, you're also going to get access to our community, right? That one's $2,295. This price is going up soon, by the way. We're going to raise our prices in, I think, about a week. It's going to be closer to $3,000 very soon. So if you guys want to save some money, you can do that right now. You do not have to pay that all up front. We do have payment plans that you pay either over 3 or 5 month payment plans if that makes it easier for you. All right. Then we have our live classes, which again has everything from self-directed plus more, right? You get the 12 weeks of live classes. You get to actually sit in the Zoom and ask questions during the time. You get 6 hours of dedicated live Q&A, so you get lots of extra help if you need it. This one, by the way, also our live classes, you could retake them as many times as you want. So some people, for example, they take our classes, life gets in the way. A lot of people get promotions during our class. So a lot of people get promotions during our class. If something like that were happening, or if you buy a new house or whatever, life gets in the way, you can retake the classes as many times as you want, right? We're going to help you with 2 personal projects during class. You're going to get to know your classmates. You can work together with them. And then if you need help with your resume or with interviews, we can help you out with that as well, right? This one's $4,995, and it's also available in 3 or 5 month payment plans if you prefer to do it that way. And John, there's a question, can I simply pay to use your existing algos? We do not currently have that. We will be raising money soon. We're doing a crowdfunding campaign soon where we want to build a product where you will be able to rent our algorithms and invest in them, but that will not be available until at least January. So you are not, currently that option is not available. In a few months that might be available. We'll probably be charging something like $200 a month to use our algorithms if that's something that you're interested in. All right. Cool. But that again, that's going to take a while for us to build that. Right. Cam K asks, can I just pay to build my own bot? Yes, if you want a bot built, we can go ahead and do that for you too. As I mentioned before, book a call with someone from our team if you're interested. There's that book a call link. And this is not the right link. Okay, there we go. So if you wanna do that, book a call with one of our team, and they can discuss all the different options for you. But yes, we do bot development services. So if you want us to build a bot for you, we can definitely do that. Cool. And then we also have our project help and tutoring plan. And this is our premium plan. If you really have something in mind and you want us to build a bot for you, this includes that. You'll get access to the courses, right? So you'll get access to both a self-directed and live course plans, everything in them you get, right? On top of that, you are going to be able to participate in the live classes, right? Retake them as many times as you want. You're going to get help building a custom project, and you're going to get 10 hours of one-on-one time over the phone. Or if you want us to build a bot for you, that's 10 hours that can go towards developing a bot for you. And we have a whole team of software engineers that can build these things out for you if you have something specific in mind. All right. So great question. Thank you. Again, all of these have 3 and 5 month payment plans, so you do not have to pay these upfront. All right. Cool. Again, there's this book a call button, right? If you have any questions or anything, that's the way to go. Book a call. We can answer any of those questions. We have very well-trained people that can handle any of those things. We also have a guarantee, by the way, in case you're wondering, you go through this, like, oh, am I going to have some trouble building a bot? I have never experienced a single student that went through our class and was not able to get a bot up and running. Every single person that's ever taken our class has done this. So it's very easy for me to give this guarantee. If you can't build a bot, we give you your money back plus $600, right? The extra $600 is for your time, right? But I've never seen anyone ever go through that, so it's very easy for me to give that guarantee. Right. Junior's asking for a website link. That's a link to book a call, but here's a link to the website. I just shared that right now as well. Yeah. Question is, what were their coding experiences? I'm not sure what you mean for coding, like who is they? I guess I'm assuming you mean past students. I'd say we have the majority of people that take the class do not have any coding experience. Most people come in from scratch, right? Maybe they've messed around with things a little bit, but they're definitely not coders. So if you have no coding experience at all, that's perfectly fine. We've built this course to make it very easy, even if you've never coded a day in your life before. Right? There's a lot of AI tools that you can use to help you write code these days. ChatGPT can really help with that a lot. We show you a few other ones too, like GitHub Copilot. So it's actually a lot easier than you would think to build these things yourself. The majority of people that take our classes do not have coding experience. So that kind of gives you an idea of the expectations here, right? So don't worry if you don't have any coding experience. That's perfectly fine. We've had plenty of students like that go through our course. I've actually there's a student in one of our classes right now. He's I believe in his 60s or 70s, and he's able to run a bot on his own, right? He's never coded before. He's a 70-year-old man and able to run his own bots. So that gives you an idea of how we've done this course. We've run this course for such a long time that we've really made it a lot easier to build these things, and we continue to make it easier and easier every year. That's a great question. Thank you, Cam K. Okay, and let's say you guys want to join our upcoming live class. There's one starting on the 27th, so very soon. If you guys want to join this class, it's in 2 weeks, right? This course registration closes on the 20th, so in about a week, in exactly a week, actually. The course is 12 weeks long, excluding holiday breaks. We take breaks for holidays, like July 4th, we took off. The class schedule is every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. Pacific. We say 8 to 12 hours per week in effort, but we really should delete this from our thing here because some people go much faster, some people go much slower. You do not have to put in 8 to 12 hours per week. That is not mandatory. But the more time you put in, obviously, the faster you're going to go, right? And if you take our live classes, we're going to spend a lot of time with you to help make sure that goes much smoother and much easier, even if you have never coded a day in your life before. All right. This class is every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So basically the exact same time that you guys join now. So if you're able to make it now, in 2 weeks from now, we can start learning how to build bots. Right. So so if you want to do that, in 2 weeks, you could actually get started. Right. And each class is usually about 2 weeks long, right? We have a coupon code here. I don't believe this coupon code, well, actually it is still valid. Yeah, it's a summer sale that we have going on. So if you use the SUM25 coupon code, you can actually save an extra 25% right now, right? So that's up until the 19th. So what is that, Monday, something like that, Tuesday. So you can actually save yourself some money using this coupon code. If you wanted to purchase this class, you would click on this here, select the course, right? Just to give you an idea of what it looks like, right? You'll check out here. If you buy more than one class at a time, you get a discount. Notice here I have a 10% discount. All right, I'm gonna reduce this here. So let's say if I bought, this is, you know, two of the same, but if you were to buy this, for example, you get a discount on both of them, and they could even put in that summer discount code and get even more, right? And then you go here, proceed to checkout, and that's how you go about doing it. And your coupon code would go in here. All right. Okay. So that's our upcoming live class. J.R. Wilson says Wednesday of next week. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. So why would someone buy two courses? Cam K asks. Well, we have a bunch of other courses, right? Our algo class is one of them. We have a whole list of them, right? We have classes on options trading. Like if you want to build algorithms for options, we have an entire class just dedicated to that. We have an entire class just dedicated to using artificial intelligence to trade, right? Basically, we just go from the very beginning, just straight up, just all we do is just AI trading and show you how to do that. We have a class called Market Mastery that does not include coding, that just teaches you how to trade. This is by a portfolio manager who's been doing this for a while. We have classes on how to build blockchain, to do blockchain development if you want to build your own crypto coins or NFTs or Web3 type website. We have a lot of different courses on different types of things, right? So Camcase says, so I don't know if TS option has to be a different class. So there's quite a bit of nuances to options when you're trading. So we've turned that into a completely separate class. There's a lot of details around options that are not the case when it comes to trading stocks or crypto. You have to make sure you pick the right strike price. You have to make sure that you're back testing in specific ways. Algos can trade options. They definitely can. We'll go over the basics of that in our algo trading class. But if you want to spend and learn how to specifically build options trading algorithms, we have an entire class just purely dedicated to that, right? Because a lot of people even, even if you don't understand how to like actually evaluate these things, how do you actually set up, a saddle or a strangle or whatever, we'll show you how to do all that kind of stuff and actually build the algorithms that do all that, right? How to get the data, how to do all those different types of things, right? So that class is specifically dedicated to options. This class, our algorithmic trading class, we're mostly going to be covering stocks and crypto, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, so CamK says that's also related to what I asked earlier because with option selection, that again added more layers. Yeah, exactly. That's why we aim to make that as easy as possible for you, right? So we'll spend a lot of time hand-holding you through all these things, right? So you're not going to be doing these things on your own. You're going to get a lot of support. You're going to get a lot of one-on-one time with either myself or any of the other instructors if you're taking one of those classes, and you'll get a chance to really be able to build this stuff out without a lot of complications. Right. So if you are interested in trading options, you do not have to take the options trading class. I'd recommend it because we do go through in detail how to do that kind of stuff, and it makes it a lot easier for you. But if you're interested in building trading if you're interested in building trading algorithms that trade options, you could also take our algo trading class, and we can kind of walk through a lot of those things together as well. So don't feel like you have to take that class, although I would recommend it because it will make your life a lot easier, but it's not a requirement. Right? So here's we've been doing two projects during the class. We're going to be doing a first project, which is about analyzing investment strategies. And they're going to be doing another project that's actually building a live bot together. So we'll be doing these two projects during the class. So this is very hands-on, very practical. You see all that stuff. All right. If you want to learn a little bit more about myself, I'm the one who's going to be teaching this class. You can read up about me here or check out my LinkedIn. There's a lot of details in there, right? And then if you want to watch any of our testimonials, here's a bunch of them right below the class, right? But then we also have a lot more inside of more, right? If you go more and then testimonials, we have lots of them here. We've had quite a few students take our classes over time, and you can basically watch these and see how some of these people did. So for example, here's Latoya. You could watch her video. She started off not knowing how to code whatsoever. She never coded a day in her life. And she's built a bot that's quite successful now that basically uses AI type of techniques to read Discord users. You know how there's a lot of those channels where they give like trade recommendations and things like that. She built a bot that can actually read those things and automatically trade based on those recommendations in Discord. She built this herself completely. It's like 3,000 lines of code, and she did it without ever learning how to, without knowing how to code from the beginning. So it was actually very impressive. And she was able to do this a lot because of AI, right? Well as ChatGPT and things like that made it a lot easier for her to learn how to code, right? So if you want to learn about her, you can do that here. A game also came to us, never knew how to code either, right? He not only built some cool algorithms, but also now runs his own website where he sells basically trading signals and things like that to other people. So he's making a good amount of money doing this stuff, not just investing it, but also giving advice, right? Which I'd recommend you guys, if you guys ever want to make a lot of money investing, it's not just investing your own money, learn to invest other people's money. You make a heck of a lot more. That's how Warren Buffett got so rich, and then you can, here's one of his trading bots that he built, a game. You could read about Renee, right? Who did have coding experience. So if you are with coding experience, you want to see what that experience is like. This is Renee. Sintayan also did have coding experience. So you can learn from both spectrums, right? People that didn't know how to code, people that knew how to code. They both had a good experience coming out of this, right? Because we're able to focus on just the things that you need to know and use a lot of these AI tools, right? So feel free to read or watch any of these testimonials. There's quite a few of them in here, right? This is not all of ours, but there's a good amount for you guys to pick through. And I think you'll be able to relate to some of these people here, right? There's a question from Roberto. Do the option algos also run on interactive brokers? Yes, they do. Yeah, so if you want to run option algorithm, we partnered up with Interactive Brokers, and that's where you can trade. And I think Interactive Brokers is a fantastic broker in general. They have some of the best fees for trades, for margins, for commissions. They're also international, so you can trade not only in the US, but in Canada, Australia, a bunch of other places in the world. So I'm a big fan of Interactive Brokers. So yeah, we absolutely do work with them. It's a great question. Thank you, Roberto. Okay. We went over the testimonials. Again, if you have any questions, book a call. We can go through a lot more stuff that way as well. But in general, that's pretty much it for today, right? Let me know. Do you guys have any questions? Right? What do you guys think? Do you have any questions or anything that we're doing? Comments, thoughts? You guys have been very active. This has been great, by the way. I love having groups like you. All right, already booked a call. Perfect. Awesome. All right, Roberto, shoot. Go ahead. So Jared Wilson asks, are you looking for beta testers for life-changing testimonials? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Wilson. Let me know exactly what you mean by that. Roberto says, you run algos on IBKR and crypto on Binance. With crypto, we work with a lot of different brokers. You can use Binance if you want. You could also use Coinbase. You could also use Kraken, which is the one that I like the most. I think it's, has a lot of different options. You could trade like leveraged futures and things like that. And you don't have to, like with Binance, it's a bit of a pain because you have to buy your crypto coins and then send them over there, right? Yeah, so Camke says he has Kraken. I love Kraken as well. I'm a big fan of Kraken. I just find it to be a lot easier to use. They have, all the fancy stuff like the futures and margin trading, that type of thing. And I don't have to, I could use the US dollars. I can just link it to my bank account and you just take it out directly. And I don't have to send it, all the way around the world in like weird contrived ways. It's just a lot easier to use. I know Binance kind of has their own things as well. That's why we still work with them too. If you want to, you can do that, right? My personal preference is with Kraken, but we work with Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, and I feel like I'm missing one. But yeah, it's pretty easy for us to hook up to crypto brokers. So if there's one that you really like that I didn't mention, we can add that pretty easily. It takes us like an hour or two to add a new crypto broker. Hey, Jared Wilson says, I'll talk to Alicia after the webinar about my question in detail. Okay, sure, no problem. That sounds good. Let me know how it goes. Cool. Any other questions, guys? What about active all of you are today? This is fantastic. And some very good questions too. And by the way, if you want to ask me any questions specifically, you can also email me, rob@lumiwealth.com. Right? Feel free to email me if you have any questions. You can also find me on Discord. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. I'll share that link to our Discord channel again, or our Discord channel, Discord server. Right. So if you want to catch me on Discord, you can find me here. Right. Yeah, and then if you have any other questions, you can ask me through email. You can ask me over Discord, or you can book a call with one of our team, and they can go through all this stuff with you as well. Right? No problem, Roberto. It's great. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for attending. This has been a lot of fun. Hope you guys understand or are feeling the same way that we are about algo trading. I think this stuff is going to change the world of finance for in a very dramatic way. I think as AI becomes bigger and more powerful, we're going to be hearing more and more about this stuff. Right now, if you watch, and I do this very often, watch like some of the top hedge fund managers talking about trading algorithms and about machine learning and data science, and they're all making huge investments into this. And it's all because everyone's seeing the same thing. Why pay a hedge fund manager $30 million a year when you can have a computer program do that automatically, faster than them, less emotional than them, and you don't have to, worry about any of the human stuff of, if this person quits or whatever. You can build an algorithm, replicate everything that they're doing. It's much more how do I put it this way? Like much easier to understand what's going to happen with it, right? Much more predictable, right? And it's much easier to build, really good investment platforms around it, right? So this is what it's all about. So Junior, you asked, do we offer payment plans? Yes, we do. We have 3 and 5 month payment plans, right? So yeah, so you don't have to pay all that up front. So don't worry about that. So absolutely, yes, Junior, we have payment plans. Right. And again, feel free to book a call, right? Yeah, Emmanuel, exactly, 3 and 5 months. Feel free to book a call. We can explain all that stuff to you through this book a call. All right. Cool, awesome. All right, guys. Well, again, if you have any more questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to catch me on Discord or book a call with one of our staff, and we'll be able to walk through all that stuff for you. All right. Thanks again for being here. It's been a pleasure with you guys. This has been a lot of fun for me too, and I hope you guys have a great night. Cheers, guys. And I hope to see you guys in class. It starts in 2 weeks, so I'll see some of you guys there. All right. Have a good night, guys. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.